Hey, what's more likely for him, for Giannis? 2+ more titles, do you think, or 0 titles?
Well, shoot, after that pep talk by P.J. Tucker, I want to say 4. But look, the easy answer is 1. The more likely answer to this question is 0. These things are hard to come by. These are not easy to win. LeBron has 4 in, 18 years? So they're not easy to come by. Yeah. But I'm going to go out and I'm going to say 2 is the answer to this question. Because Giannis, as great as he is, has so much room for improvement. I've said it. He might be 80% of the player he could be. What is going to happen when his mid-range jump shot just gets adequate? All right, and that's not even to mention if he adds a decent three-pointer. But if it just gets adequate, he will be unstoppable. And I believe he's got the work ethic, still the humility to go out and work so hard and improve his game. Right. He's got that drive. Also, winning this championship, I think, is going to make him come out and play with even more confidence. A lot of times when somebody wins a championship and finally gets the monkey off their back, that everybody's been saying, oh, can he win? That monkey's off their back. They get better. I thought that was going to happen with Anthony Davis. I thought this would be the year Anthony Davis became the number 1 guy with the Lakers as LeBron aged. But AD didn't do it. But let's be honest. It's pretty clear Giannis has more drive and ambition and just stays healthier better than Anthony Davis.
Right. So
Giannis is going to continue to get better. Remember, he's only 26 years old. He's got close to another decade about of top-level play. During that time, LeBron's going to retire.
Right.
KD's going to retire. Steph's going to retire. Kawhi Leonard. So I'm going to say 2 is the answer to this question. He's going to be an all-time great, and that means getting at least 2 more.
So what you just ended with, then why are you so hesitant to say 2? Right? Yeah, he's 26. So my answer is 2, Chris. But because of everything, yes, I get that, but he's 26. So the next 3 to 4 years, it definitely will be tough because you still have LeBron James out there. LeBron James isn't done. Newsflash, folks. And then you have AD. AD will bounce back this year. AD probably is training and working out now because I don't know what happened last year. And then you obviously have the Nets. But then after that, you still have Giannis, like you just said, 26. So Giannis, when those guys are done and maybe retired or well past their prime, then he has his entire 30s to just run through the NBA. He doesn't have to get better. So let's say he doesn't get better, Nick. Like, all they got to do is continue to lean into coaching. Bud last year, everybody talked about Bud not being, a coach that makes adjustments. Well, Bud this year leaned into making adjustments. That's why they were having that parade. And then you have the other guys around him. Giannis is dominant. So if they continue to build their team, stack the right people around him, then, yeah, this team will be able to compete. Now, it's going to take a lot. But at the end of the day, he has, 10, 12 years left to terrorize the NBA. All last year I was saying that Joel Embiid is the most dominant player in basketball. Well, hell, now it's Giannis. I'm not ready to give him the title that he's the best player in basketball, but he surely is the most dominant.
Well, and you guys are talking about long horizon. I mean, right now, as presently constituted, they should be the favorites for next year. And I think they'll be back in the finals next year. So, he's 26 years old and already got a title. It's an impossibility he never wins another one, barring a career-changing injury. There's nobody wins titles young in this league. Well, because it's never happened. It's not since Wilds. My hand's been forced because I said something wrong.
Don't mess with the historian.
Oh, no.
Don't mess with the historian. Why do you wake up the historian?
Bullet Bob Pettit won a title at 26 and never won again, but that's because he had to deal with Bill Russell. That's the only one. That was 70 years ago, so I don't care. Every other guy has multiple rings. Now you'd be like, oh, Nick, what about Dirk and KG and Dr. J and Moses? They all won their title old, 10 plus years into their career. Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, they were old. And Dr. J, it's kind of unfair because he won a bunch of titles in the ABA. But even the guys some of the other guys who won titles old, they ended up winning another one. Like Akeem won 2. Isaiah won 2. Isaiah wasn't that old, but he didn't have that long of a career. David Robinson won 2. And Bill Walton, whose career was wrecked by injury, he won 2. He won 1 young and then won 1 as a 6-man with the Celtics. Everybody else, they've got 3+. Steph's got 3. LeBron's got 4. Kobe had 5. Shaq had 4. Duncan had 5. Magic had 5. Jordan had 6. Kareem had 6. So what are we talking about? There is no chance, Wilds, he never wins another ring. It will be totally unprecedented for league history. Now, will he win 5 of them? No, I don't think so. Because when you guys are talking about him, running over the league once all the older players retire, you are forgetting a man who might just run through the Olympics here over the next few weeks. Young man from Slovenia that could be the best, soon the man to take the title from Giannis of best player in the league at some point. But and other guys will come up. But no, Giannis is going. You don't do everything he's done by age 26 and be done winning. You just don't. It never has happened.
Yeah. Here's the most interesting thing for me. That the Bucks are going to get better. And Broussard, you talked about Giannis getting better, right? His free throw will get better. His mid-range will get better. Maybe his three-point shooting will get better. But when we look historically, all those guys with multiple championships add a surprise person and get a little more champions. Like Jordan's like, hey, Dennis Rodman's here. Holy cow, we got Dennis Rodman now. Kobe's like, oh, we got Paul Gasol now. They've got another chapter. So I think what's interesting is we're looking at the Bucks team as currently constructed. There is going to be a Bucks championship team 2.0 that I don't know what it looks like, but the deck is going to be shuffled and teams are going to look vastly different. Now, the odd part is this. Since we're in like the golden age of player development, player movement, does that actually work against Giannis? Are they so locked in that so you start to see more super teams? You see people, maybe Dame ends up with Joel and they get another person. If Luka somehow ends up on a super team, does that end up working against Giannis? I'm not sure.
Well, it could. And look, I'm with all you guys in that. My answer was 2, but 2 or more. We'll see. But, Nick, the one thing, all the guys you mentioned had what next to them? A second superstar. And I mean, Bird had a cast of Hall of Famers. Magic had a cast of Hall of Famers. Jordan obviously had Pippen. Yeah. I mean, we could go on and on down the line. They all had other stars.
Duncan didn't.
Ginobili and Parker?
Not for all of them.
They're Hall of Famers. Well, he had David Robinson for the first 2.
Pop.
And then he had Ginobili and Parker.
No, he had Pop, obviously, but he didn't have David. Go ahead.
David Robinson was still a top player when Duncan got there and they won their first ring. Second, when Robinson was a bit compromised. But then they had Parker and Ginobili. Now, Middleton, I do think will grow in stature over time. Look, Giannis is not Jordan in that he's not the closer and all that stuff. All right, but Middleton's not Pippen because he is the closer, right? And Pippen wasn't. But as far as the way Pippen grew in stature, right? Pippen's career early on, his start was very similar to Middleton's. He was unheralded. He was a high draft pick, but he averaged 7 points early, 14 points. Middleton developed the same way. And then as he got better and began winning championships with Mike, then he became this superstar. And Middleton, I think his stature will grow and grow and grow, and people will begin to really give him the respect he deserves.
But that's why you have to lean towards 2, because there's so much basketball left for Giannis. LeBron James, 36. He'll be done in a couple years. Giannis, 26, like we already talked about. So over the next 10, 12 years, Nick, wouldn't you think that this would be an attractive destination? Like if I'm Dame Lillard and I want to win, I'm trying to figure out how to get there. Now you're the resident GM, so you understand the caps, the number, and what team has assets to be able to move around. But if I'm a superstar in this league and I'm not on a super team, I'm thinking about how do I get to Milwaukee, because they don't have that number 2. And if they do get a guy like, well, when I say the number 2, I mean a guy that can help you get multiple titles. Middleton, he's done his job. Now Middleton, will he get better? Absolutely. But man, he's not Dame Lillard. He's not AD. He's not James Harden or Kyrie to Kevin Durant. So I truly believe this will be an attractive destination over the next 10 years.
So I think it's more likely it becomes, because it's, and I can't see 10 years down the road, but with Middleton on a max, Drew on a max, Giannis on a max, they're not going to, unless they were to break up the core, and why would you? They're not going to be able to bring in, and they've traded all their draft picks, a star like that via trade. But I do think it could become a good destination for the David Wests of the world, like the guys who are nearing the end of their career, still have something left, and want to, be a part of a championship team. That's, PJ Tucker, I know they traded for him, but it's a similar type of thing. It's like a guy who is an important rotation player. But I'm going to, listen, the Duncan thing, I think Duncan played for so long that we compress everyone together. So in the mid-2000s, when Duncan was the best player in basketball and won back-to-back MVPs, the Spurs won titles in 03, 05, 07. David Robinson was there in 03, but was a single-digit point per game guy. Kawhi obviously was not even close to being in the league yet. Tony Parker was not himself at all. Like, he won 3 titles in 5 years without another anything close to superstar alongside him. Now, by Ginobili and Parker turned into, and by 07 Parker, you could argue, was already there, that level of player, and Ginobili was getting there. But why was Duncan able to do that? Because you could argue he was the best offensive and defensive player in basketball. Giannis can argue the same thing. And so the idea that the reason he can win multiple rings is because he's going to play for so long, yes, that's true. It also might be true that he can take advantage of this moment we're in right now, like Tim Duncan did in the mid-2000s.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.